A lot of people have asked me how I'm going to get my hands deep down into the 2,000-gallon aquarium or if I need to move anything. This is like a claw machine for ponds. Actually, it was pretty cheap too, considering how sturdy it was. I got it for 40 bucks. But you guys will remember these things from when maybe we were kids. You were able to get like these claws that grab stuff. And this is the same thing, just for adults. We're gonna start off today's video by feeding the 2,000-gallon aquarium, followed by giving you guys an update out here in the aquarium gallery. I wanna talk about some of the things that are different out here, some of the things that are planned, and of course, just give you a general idea of where I'm at with everything. On the menu today, just a combination of shrimp and scallop kind of chopped up to the size of the rays' mouths. This is one of their favorite meals. Although if I put any live worms in there, they go nuts. Perhaps in the future, we'll dump in like 50 or so and just watch the rays go crazy. Now, typically I don't have the top on the aquarium when I'm doing these videos or when I'm feeding or just admiring from the top. And I just push the lids to the side. But typically there's always a lid because of humidity, fish jumping, or whatever the case might be. Mainly it's just for humidity and evaporation. There's 2,000 gallons of water. That's a lot of evaporation that could, cause me a lot of problems. So feeding these guys is a whole lot of fun. Just because, it's not every day you get to feed freshwater stingrays. Well, of course, unless you're me, and freshwater stingrays are your absolute passion. With that said, I like to give them a little bit at a time. A lot of the times, though, if I'm in a rush, I'll sprinkle it throughout the aquarium, but it's almost like I want this to last forever. Of course, I can't keep feeding them, but so I'll drop in a few pieces here and there. And one of the things I enjoy is, given that it's such a big tank, the sensors on the rays, they know the food is in there. So they can taste it immediately as it drops in. The rays are actually getting quite large. They've probably put on an inch since being in here, maybe a ½ inch, but definitely thickening up. Right now, they're just kind of feeling out the sand for the wood or for the food there. As you see, he jumped on it. Frank's also going around saying, "Hey, where's mine?" He's such a glutton, but he's not as fast as the rays. Now, the rays will jump on top of each other, and you'll see them, and it seems like, hey, why are they jumping on each other? What's wrong? They might even do it right now. But one ray wants what the other ray has, and maybe they'll do it right here. So he's like, "Hey, are you eating? What is it? Give it to me." So it's these guys are always, like I said, they're always fun to feed, and there's only 4 in here right now, but that's about to change. Drop a few more pieces in there for them. Again, seeing them from above is awesome. Now the pumps are still running right now, so we're getting a little bit of wavy action. They don't look that great, but you can still see them for now. To be honest with you, my hands are wet and I forgot to shut the pumps off before I started filming. So that's about 15 medium-sized shrimp, possibly maybe 10 scallops. Seems like a lot of food, but you want them to get it. Oh, isn't that awesome when the rays swim from outside of the rocks? Love it. I was going to remove the rocks. I talked to you guys about that, but upon closer inspection, the rays are actually keeping them quite clean. Now, I do get asked a lot about the sand, like, "Joey, are you going to add more sand?" When I initially added it, it covered the entire bottom of the tank. However, if we come closer, if we kind of look this way, and you see the sand is pushed back, that's from the rays. So they swim up the sides of the tank and come down, and they're constantly brushing it back. Same with over there, just digging and whatnot, and you can only have so much sand. Too much sand is going to cause a lot of difficulties with cleaning, as well as creating anaerobic regions. I haven't cleaned the acrylic since I installed it. Maybe that's something I should do before I keep filming this. But look at that pearl. So if you guys think back, and I hope this camera's going to pick up its new pattern marks, but if you look between the dots, you can see a lot of striations and different coloring. So he's going to get a little bit darker, but the striations and lines throughout the middle, in between all of the dots, are going to get lighter. This guy goes almost through an entire metamorphosis of just an amazing change. But if you look at him, how thick he is and how healthy he's doing, you guys will remember that was a rescue. Then, of course, the rays. This is a female. You can't tell that it's a female just by looking at it. You have to see underneath of it and take a look at its claspers if it has any or not. But I know them by their spots. So that's actually the male. And so when you're looking at the rays, they look the same, right? You can't really tell. But for me, the male how I tell is look between their eyes. This is how I sex them. I know that it's a male because I've already sexed them, but look between his eyes. See the two dots touching? This one doesn't have that, and this one doesn't have that. As they grow, their spotting will change a lot. But for right now, that's like the easiest thing for me to identify. So looking at them, I immediately know that that's the male. So they're going to continue to eat for a little while. I might have overfed, but I've been manipulating the pumps a lot lately to ensure the food isn't blowing around too much, like immediately blowing towards the back, because the rays were spending too much time back there, because when I feed them, the food blows to the back, so they're always, scourging through the back and kind of, looking for food all the time, because that's where it was blowing back there. But I've changed the flow rates and the way the pumps function to keep the food in the front a little bit longer. But as you can see, a lot of it's still kind of moving around. But that is what you want. You want your substrate to have flow over it. Otherwise, you're going to have dead spots, food collecting, fish waste collecting. And I haven't touched this substrate since I added it. And that's a huge thing with 70 square feet of substrate to clean. You want it to be as maintenance free as possible. The pearl is back in there right now. That's Frank's new home, but if you look at in between the rock and the wood, right there, you can see them. They can swim directly under this. Frank's always playful. I wonder if he'll come to the top of the tank and greet you guys. He just ate, so so he's not that playful right now or hungry, but maybe he'll come over. Come on over here, Frank. Such a big tank. He's nowhere near as interactive as he once was, in a tiny little 30-gallon tank. But yeah, tank's looking good. Plants are okay. I still haven't detached the Anubias that was removed from the Arowana, the big Arowana that was in here. They're still attached to that. I'm kind of just seeing if they're going to die there or not, plus the fact that I don't really want to have to try to attach them. I might use them for another tank, so ultimately I'm probably just going to leave them there until I need them. It's not impacting the flow, and they're not killing it. They're just kind of sucked to the side. They're still getting plenty of light. I'm loving these lights, by the way. And then, of course, covering the tank back up with their lids. Now, usually I'd like to leave this open for the remainder of the video, but I have a feeling this might be a relatively longer video. There's lots to update you guys on, and it's actually late in the day for me filming this. I like to do my videos quite earlier so I can get them out to you earlier, but I've just been preoccupied with so much, and you guys know that this has been a pretty emotional week for me. And outside of what happened with the Arowana, of course I have a personal life as well, and I'm also human. I have personal issues and things that arise and happen. I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and during those 10 years, of course, there's always going to be family issues, personal issues, you name it. And the past couple of weeks have been absolutely, trying, to say the least. And with the Arowana, with that happening, that was the cherry on top that just kind of almost pushed me over. However, I need to admit this up front, and I want to point this out. The lure and some of the cultural belief behind the Asian Arowana is, they bring good luck, fortune, a number of things. I've talked about this in the past, but they also is said that the Asian Arowana will die or sacrifice itself for its owner. And there's many different stories. For example, people, escaping horrific car crashes with just a few scratches, going home to find their Asian Arowana on the floor, killing itself in place of its owner. And in my personal life lately, a lot of things were coming to a head. In fact, it was boiling over the night before the Arowana jumped. I never realized this, but everything got better immediately after he did. Makes me wonder if he sacrificed himself for me. I know this could sound confusing to you guys without any details, but some things are personal and you just don't share everything with the general public. I've shared a tremendous amount with you, including emotions, feelings, and a lot of events in my life, but I can assure you that this definitely made me think and almost made me appreciate what had happened And it made me look at the entire situation a little differently and allowed me to move on a lot faster than I thought I was going to be able to. With that said, I should also address the overwhelming to the point where I couldn't take it anymore support that you guys have given me over the past week has been absolutely astounding. Incredible. We'll come back to that in a minute. We got more to talk about. So where are we at with the racks? I know you guys are dying to know, and to be honest with you, not any further than what we left off. The only thing that has changed is I've kind of been positioning the backgrounds into which tank I want them to go in. Oh, this one here is actually in the tank. I just tossed it in there to kind of see what it was going to look like. Of course, it's going to look a lot better once we light them up, but we can, go ahead and kind of have a good idea. This background here is going into this tank. That background there will go into the tank that's in there, and so forth. There's a couple more there. We'll talk about the 375 in a second. This background is nowhere in there. Same with this one and the one up top. That one's up there. The reason why these don't have any backgrounds is because they're out here. Now here's something I've been doing is figuring out how I'm going to install these backgrounds. Sorry for this. This is something else I'm building, but is how I'm going to install these backgrounds, yet plumb them at the same time. And I'm in a bit of a predicament until the other day I realized I kind of have two options on background installation. One, I can install all of the plumbing first, which all of the tanks are already drilled and whatnot. Difficult to see because none of them are unwrapped, but you guys have been following, get an idea. I can install the backgrounds after the tanks have been plumbed, which means that the backgrounds have to work around all of the plumbing. Meaning I might have to cut them a certain way around established plumbing. We don't have to do that. We have the plumbing here, the tanks are bare, we're not in any rush. Why don't we install the backgrounds first and make all the plumbing work around the backgrounds, meaning that the backgrounds in the end will look more natural because we can customize the plumbing based on each background. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to install all 10 backgrounds into all 10 aquariums. Now, the backgrounds are a mixture of different types. The aquariums are all from customaquariums.com. So all I have to do, oh, and look at this one. You got to see this. This is one of my favorite parts about these tanks and one of the big selling points for me. The braces, which I've already removed this one, but you get the point. The bracing, being metal, is removable with just a couple of bolts, giving me absolute and complete access to the tank. Perfect for not having to cut the backgrounds up, putting in large pieces of wood or decoration or whatever I want to do. But clearly I have to install the brace back on the tank before I fill the tank up because the brace is there for a reason. So that's kind of where I'm at with the tanks. Not a lot has been done, but there are fish and plants on the way. They should be here later this week, so I have to get a move on because we have to start setting these up. I do have quarantine systems ready, and we're gonna go take a look at them in a minute. However, I have to also take my time, be methodical, and make sure this is what I wanna do because once we get rolling, it's gonna be extremely difficult to turn back time and make corrections to 10 tanks back to back. Which leads me to, probably the next question is how am I going to get the tanks in, get them all plumbed, etc. Well, that's actually a really good question, you see. I'm going to only be able to set up 2 at a time. What I have to do is pull each racking system out. Well, I'll have to install the tanks first with their backgrounds and then pull the racking systems out so I can get behind them, plumb them up properly, run all of the filtration in behind into the sump area, push them back into place, and then continue on with setting everything up, filling them up. But for the most part, aquascaping will be done inside of the tanks once they're set up, unless I have some big pieces of equipment or big pieces of wood or whatever the case might be that I can't fit through the 10, 12-inch gap we have here. I'll have to do that in advance, but ultimately, it's just going to be very time consuming. At the end of the day though, this isn't probably not the best way to set these racks up without having access to the back. But being a gallery, it's not about how functional things are or how great they all work. This is about presentation and showing what is possible with the aquarium hobby. Of course, being efficient and functional and using some good equipment, whether we build or buy, depending on the situation, is important as well. But presentation has to take number one. This is a gallery. This is not a fish room. The 375 gallon is still nowhere further than we were before. Tons of manzanita wood still kind of just piled in there. This is not what it's going to look like. I talked about the fact that I just wanted to get an idea on scale and see what it was going to look like. But this has to be attacked very soon because the fish and plants that are coming are for this tank. We got tons of time to work on the racking systems, and like I said, we're only doing one at a time, so ultimately we just have to keep up with the fish that slowly start to arrive. I also have to work on the saltwater tank, which we're going to take a look at in a minute, but for this one, I've got to buff out the sides, remove the scratches that I made. I've got to cut up the stand, the stand, and install all the plumbing. Basic stuff. It's actually quite simple. It looks like it's going to be a lot of work. It's just going to be very time consuming. I have everything I need for it now. It's just about pulling the trigger. And again, I'm ready to rock and roll. Now you guys remember that planted cube tank I built? Held about 30 gallons as well as the stand that went on it. I took that and basically painted them both black. This is going to be the temporary system for the drop-off saltwater aquarium. Again, all established tanks that are in the house got to come out here, and this is the tank that's going to house all of my fish and rock for the time being until we're ready to do a 120. I hope to finish this tank today or tomorrow, but I've already started to fill it up with some RODI water, so I'm getting close. I'll have to finish filling it up, finish plumbing it, get the sump that's in it right now filled up, set up, and then finally bring it to temperature, move the fish over. Again, I hope to be able to do that today or tomorrow, but this is going to be a pretty cool tank as is, I think. So let's go take a look at the Arowana inside as well as the quarantine system and what's going on with those. So not a whole lot has changed in this room. I did empty it. There are no more tanks in here. Clearly I've got a lot of cleaning up to do still. I also have to build that wall, but again, I've got a lot on my plate right now and I'm keeping up with as much as possible. This wall is no problem to fix, but this is the sump to the old 370 gallon tank. I'm going to use it as a quarantine system. I'll just hook up an old canister filter for it. I haven't cleaned it yet or removed any of the bracing that was in it before for the trickle tower. I don't need to. It's a quarantine system. I need a bucket of water basically that's cycled, and I can toss some fish in there, and that's exactly what's going to happen there. The Arowana, the ultimate blood red, is still in the 100. This too will be a quarantine system. I'm going to add maybe 4 to 6 more tanks to this system, and that should be enough for quarantine. But the ultimate blood red, I got a few questions on him. Let's answer them now. One is, why isn't he red? Well, he's only about 8 inches right now, and red Arowana take usually a couple of years to actually turn red. They're a massive investment of time and money. It's the most expensive Arowana, and there's a lot of risk because unlike crossbacks or blue bases or whatever the case may be, at around this size, you will be able to tell the quality of the fish and how well it's going to do. With reds, they kind of just look like this. You don't know their quality, and the best thing that you can do is buy from a reputable farm and hope for the best. But again, it's going to take a couple years before he actually turns red, and when he does, he'll be absolutely magnificent. But this is one of the reasons why, you know, crossbacks and blue bases and such are more something that I lean towards, because you get immediate results, almost immediate results, or at least a lot faster than what you might be used to. The other question I got on this guy, and I need to clean up down here. This is an absolute mess. It's just turned into complete storage. I need lighting. So the other question I get is he going in the 2,000 gallon aquarium to replace the blue base crossback or Buddy that sadly passed away earlier in the week? And the simple answer is absolutely not. He's not a replacement fish. I'm not looking to replace Buddy. Buddy was a friend of mine. You don't replace those types of animals. What I will do is let things naturally occur and progress throughout that tank. Eventually we'll add some more fish. I have some ideas. There are some new doors that opened up without having a big Arowana in there, but I have absolutely zero interest in replacing him immediately. I'm just going to let the tank be for a little while, and again, let things naturally progress. He will eventually end up in it, but plans are going to remain the same. He's getting one of the 120s till we grow him out a little bit more and see how he progresses. Maybe give him anywhere from 6 months to a year, and we'll go from there. Once you feed rays, they don't want to swim around as much. They're satisfied. They just want to rest and have a good time. There's a few more things I want to... Nope, we got to update on that. Another question I keep getting a lot is the filtration system. Some people want to know, what is this pipe over here And why is it there now when it was never there before? Simple question gets a simple answer. I simply modified the sump, the overhead sump. This is just a portion of the filtration. So originally we just had a 2-inch standpipe installed, as you see in the background. What that was doing was taking all of the flow of the water, pumping it, draining it through the wall there, and it would exit over on the other side of the tank through one of those PVC pipes. The downside to having just a single straight standpipe take all the flow is that you're also sucking down a lot of air and it's going to start gurgling a lot. I don't care what it sounds like in here because once I close the door to the filtration room, the entire area is silent. But out here in the aquarium gallery, I want this absolutely silent. I don't want any gurgling or splashing, especially once we get all of these aquariums up and running. I don't want it to be extremely loud and discomforting. And while I should have did this from the beginning because it's not the first time I've ever plumbed a tank or set up a tank with this identical setup, but I decided I'm going to take the 2-inch standpipe, toss a bulkhead on it, and control the flow. This will allow it to take most of the flow, but the remainder of it will have to rise up and slowly overflow through this 1-inch pipe, which is also on a ball valve, not necessarily needed, but I can close it off whenever I want. So the 2-inch pipe takes the majority of the flow, and then this one takes the remainder, which isn't a lot at all. Moral of the story, I've set up tanks like this before with plumbing, and it's absolutely silent. So one last thing before I end this video is I notice a tremendous amount of you have dedicated drawings and portraits to Buddy doing amazing work. I've seen over 100 of them. A question that followed with many of you during this time is that, do you have a P.O. box? I'd love to send you something to commemorate Buddy, or just in general. I've been asked a lot over the years if I had a P.O. box, and the truth of the matter is that I have had a P.O. box for just this purpose for well over a year now. I simply just have never talked about it because I was just never interested in receiving things, but to know how important it is to you guys to be able to send something and for me to get it and just to receive that type of appreciation is something that I think is important to you guys, and which means it's important to me. So to reveal the P.O. box, it's P.O. Box 25054, Truro, Nova Scotia, B2N 7B8. I have it memorized because, like I said, I've had it for a very long time. Now, I know many of you guys will want to send things to it, and I will probably do an unboxing or some sort of like a fan mail type video. So I will wait a month or so because I'm in Canada. It'll take you guys a while to get me this stuff. But once it all kind of collects, we'll do a video and I'll dedicate that to you guys. I'll also leave the address in the description below in case you didn't catch it. Anyways, guys, I have a busy day ahead of me. In fact, I have an extremely busy week ahead of me, so we'll end the video as this. Was not a great update, but thanks for being there for me. Thanks for tuning in. The support has been absolutely nothing short of being appreciated. I don't want to continue to talk about it in every video, but it certainly has to be acknowledged here and there. I do apologize for not being so present over the last few days in terms of responding to comments and that sort of thing. I've done my best, but I needed a break as well.